We were 500 this week. Here are our rapid reactions.
Week 9 is in the books, and we are back on the Big Mountain, where we bring you a detailed focus on the Big Ten and the Mountain West.
Good to have you back here. We're going to do our rapid reaction video to go over all of our picks from Week 9. We'll start with Steve and his Big Ten picks, so take it away.
Yeah, so rough week for me after some pretty good weeks before, but Week 9 was just not kind to me. I went 2-3 on the week, 0-1 on my locks. This was, I think, my second Big Ten lock of the year that didn't hit. So Ohio State, they missed hitting that lock by half a point.
Yep.
They won by 14 points. They needed to win by 14.5. I was really happy Minnie and Nebraska hit for me. Those were two teams I was kind of tentative about those picks.
Well, and both of those games early on were a little tight. I mean,
yes.
I think Minnie was down there for a little while.
I think at the very beginning.
They came back there in the second half for sure. But yeah,
I will say yes, and so I was a little worried about those. I'm glad they hit. I will say I do see some positive momentum in both of those teams now, Minnie and Nebraska. At the beginning of the season, I said I think it would be another year for Nebraska, Matt Rule, to rebuild that program. I think even though they've had some injuries, they've had all kinds of things. I think they've kind of settled into his system. They good win for them this week. They easily covered. The only game I'm really going to talk about too much in detail, the Penn State game. You and I were talking about this a little bit off camera before we started. I was at the game. Obviously disappointed that Penn State did not cover. We always talk about the great teams cover. I say great teams cover, and you say, what do you always say?
They exceed expectations.
Well, this week they didn't cover. They didn't exceed expectations. No,
but I think the defense. Right? Well, I'll let you break it down. Stop interrupting, Jay. Why go?
Honestly, I think the defense was actually pretty solid, except for two plays, breakdowns in the first half where they let Indiana just get busted plays. One great catch by the Indiana wide receiver, made the catch, two of the defenders fall down, and he's able to turn a 10-yard pass into a 69-yard touchdown or something like that. So, and the other one, the defense just wasn't lined up yet, and there was an Indiana receiver way over on the side. The Indiana quarterback, great job by him. He snaps the ball, or he gets the ball snapped to him, and throws the ball right over to that guy right away, who just runs clear as day down the sideline. Yeah. Touchdown is what is. Most of the rest of the game, actually, I think the defense played pretty well. The offense continued to struggle, just like they did at Ohio State. I feel like this was a total hangover game for the offense. The running game was just okay. Passing game, Drew was still just like checking down. Receivers weren't doing much. They had a couple plays where receivers, Drew got them the ball and they were dropping.
Yeah.
It just felt like the entire team was kind of like they were hungover, running in quicksand. Now, we talked about this. Drew Aller had set a NCAA record to start the most games of a career without a interception. I think it was like 17 games or something.
Okay.
Without an interception, which was awesome for him. However, a lot of the fan theory out there is that he's been playing uptight because he's afraid to throw an interception. So throws that interception with like 4 minutes to go in the game. Game's tied. And worst possible moment, falling backwards into his own end zone, basically, throws the interception. Indiana gets the ball. Worst timing you could imagine, but the defense steps up big, holds Indiana. He gets the ball back, and he finally unleashes. He did throw a couple deep passes that just didn't connect, but this one, it just felt like he was ready. He was confident. Bam, he hits Keandre Lambert-Smith down the sideline, deep pass, game-winning touchdown. I really felt like, and maybe this is just a homer optimism, but I felt like that was a turning point in his young career where he was so afraid to throw that interception, just constantly checking down, really limited the offense. And, he threw the interception and then came back out the next series, throws a game-winning touchdown pass. So to me, I think that was great. That's a good positive to take out of that game. So that's pretty much the only positive to take out of that game for Penn State. They're going to play at Maryland next week, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that on our picks episode. Obviously disappointed, kind of disappointed in Maryland, but like we talked about from the very beginning, the preview episode, I said Maryland's going to start out 5-0, and totally crap the bed after that, and they'd be the worst 5-0 team in the country, and they've shown that.
That's exactly what's happened here.
Yeah, I should have listened to my past self and not picked them this week. So we'll see how that game goes. That's pretty much all I've got. What do you have for us, JY?
All right. Well, hey, let's start with the lock that we hit with the Falcons. I got my new Air Force shirt on here, my new Air Force Falcon shirt. Let's talk about them. So, one of the first, maybe the first snowy games that we've had here this college season in Colorado State. And, it was very close early, tied at the half here. But, when you've got those types of conditions, you want to have a running game, which Air Force does. I talked a little bit about how Colorado State's running game isn't quite as good as what their passing game is. So those conditions definitely, I think, played a factor here for both teams. But, again, tied at the half. You look at the second half, Air Force really strong, just doing what they do. And so I took them at minus 12.5. They covered 17, won that game 30-13. A game, we do these episodes. I'm also on Reddit, and we're on these different, I think you do 247 and stuff. And there was a lot of people wanting to take points with Colorado State on this game. I mean, when I put out my locks there was a lot of Colorado State love going in. Because I get it. It's at home. It's the Rams. I get it. This is a different Air Force team. Different than they've had almost probably ever. They're just going through the season. I mean, they are manhandling people. And so anyway, that's 2 back-to-back Falcon locks that we've hit. And I do want to say, I haven't gone back and checked this, but I don't think, I don't want to jinx, actually I'm not going to say it. I don't want to jinx this. It's going to be about locks.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so let's go to the other game, couple other games that won for me.
Can I say something real quick about that Air Force game?
Yep.
So I was able to watch the second half of that game. Super, super impressed by Air Force. Absolutely dominating performance in the second half. Running game, just great. I mean, and I wanted to bring up one special thing. We've been talking about Air Force this year and how, like the other service academies, they're a triple option team. And it works for them. It works great for them. They did need some time to adjust to the new rules. The other academies, Navy and Army, have also needed some time and have actually struggled to adjust. And we were trying to figure out, well, why has Air Force been able to do this and adjust so quickly and so easily compared to the other academies? Watching this game, I think I may have kind of figured it out. So I thought Air Force was a strictly triple option team.
No, not at all.
And not at all. And not even just they do throw now and then.
Yeah.
But I was really watching their run game and how they attacked Colorado State. Oh my goodness. They use a whole bunch of different kinds of running plays. Their line is bigger than any service academy I've ever seen. I really focused on their line. It was a snowy game. It was a blizzard game. So it was just easy to do, to focus on their line. Their line is big. They can play with the teams that have real offensive lines or defensive lines, because they're big. They can do all kinds of blocking, not just the old school cut blocking for those guys can move people out of the way. They can run counters. They can run traps. They can, any kind of run play that you want to run, they can do it. They are not a one-trick pony. They are a dominating running game, and they can attack you in 4 or 5 different ways. And then every now and then their quarterback can. Yeah. Now the part I saw in the second half, he didn't look so great throwing the ball in the blizzard, like their hands, Yeah. But the running game really impressed me, and which it's totally different night and day than what you see from Navy and what you see from Navy and Army. Air Force is doing so. I give their coaches a lot of credit, and I think that's why they're different than any academy team that we've seen in our lifetime. So that was the only note I had on that game. I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and you got to think the offensive line is probably a little more athletic, to your point, than maybe some other offensive line. Yeah. It's not just about being a big bulky person that's trying to go straight ahead. To your point, they can move guys around and block in different ways. And I wanted to bring that up in the Wyoming game, because I saw that a lot too. I mean, they run between the tackles probably a lot more than people. If you don't watch the games, you think they're a triple option. They're always running outside. Yep. They ran between the tackles against Wyoming quite a bit too, and it works for them. They control the line of scrimmage. You are going to get punched in the nose when you play Air Force. There's no doubt about it.
Their line is big. It's athletic. They really remind me, dare I say, of a Big Ten offensive line. Wisconsin and Iowa. Again, there are some limitations, but they got some big guys. Yeah. So very impressed with that running game. Very impressed with that offensive line. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I appreciate it. So then we get to San Jose State and Hawaii, the other one that I got out of the Mountain West. Dominant win from San Jose State, 35-0. I took them at -10. I said I was a little iffy on that line. They blew it out of the water. This is 2 weeks in a row that San Jose State's offense is looking like the offense I was expecting. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do here, because they could turn. I mean, they could
ruin some people's
seasons.
Could
create some upsets and really wreak havoc in who we would determine to be the top 3, I think, right now in the Mountain West. Yep. Watch out for this San Jose State team coming down the stretch. They're figuring things out right now. Then I got 2. I'll go to my 2 out of conference, which were 2 winners for me. Troy versus Texas State. A close game early on, but then Troy did what they do. End up winning 31-13, so easily cover that 5.5 spread. This is a legit team. They very close through 3 quarters, but then they score 17 points in the 4th quarter, run away with it. And that's a Texas State team only giving up 13 points against to them. That's saying something. That tells you how good, and I mentioned they were 10th in the nation in terms of defense yardage, and that Texas State team can score points. So props to the Troy Trojans. I'm going to get to them here in a little bit, so hang on. When we get to early line picks, you might hear me say the Troy Trojans team here again. The other one was Rice and Tulane. I said watch out for this game, possible upset alert. Didn't look good early. Tulane was all over Rice. I watched the first half, and I went, oh, good gracious. Rice, the passing game just wasn't there. They were really struggling. Tulane's offense was very good in the first half, but night and day. Flipped the switch on and off. It went completely the other way in the second half. Rice, just a much better team in the second half. It was 27-7 at halftime, so a 20-point deficit. They close it down and lose by 2. I was taking 10.5 points. Easily covered, and I'll tell you, there was enough time there. The upset could have happened. Yeah. But again, an easy cover there for the Rice Owls, and you had 2 out-of-conference wins for us. So let's go to Fresno State versus UNLV. This did live up to the billing. UNLV with the big halftime lead, 17-7, put them in the position where they wanted to be. But then a huge third quarter for the Bulldogs. 3 turnovers, just took control of the game. When you turn the ball over 3 times in 1 quarter, let alone 1 game, but 1 quarter, bad things are going to happen. Unfortunately for the Rebels, that's what happened. Yes. Bulldogs got back into the game, end up winning it 31-24. I took the Dogs at -7.5, so we were off by that 0.5 point. So props to the Rebels for keeping it close. In our not our picks video, but we did a preview Week 9 video. I said I like the Bulldogs at spread plus. I was all about spread plus. Hey, and the Rebels, they proved me wrong by 0.5 point. They didn't, Bulldogs didn't beat the spread there. Really good team. And again, we talked about whoever wins this game is going to potentially propel themselves to be in the Mountain West Conference Championship. Yep. The sky is the championship game is the limit. You mentioned that they have all their goals in front of them. Mm-hmm. Here's one, check it off. They got it. I mean, the Dogs control their own destiny. Yep. You can't ask for much more than that. And Air Force controls their own destiny. Yep. Clearly, your number 1 and 2 right now are the Bulldogs and the Falcons.
Yeah, a couple notes that I have about that game. I didn't watch the whole game. I think I watched most of the first quarter before I fell asleep because I was up early to go to the Penn State game.
Right.
But I think both teams accomplished something in this game. For UNLV, I really think that they showed, because we talked about how weak their schedule was and how they hadn't played any of the big boys. To me, they showed that they can play with the big boys, that they belong in that upper maybe third of the conference, that they're there, they're serious, and maybe they won't get it done this year. Came up a little bit short here, but exceeded expectations. And so to me, they made a statement. Fresno, at the same time, they really accomplished something important here. This could have been an easy trip-up game and could have set the whole Mountain West race as far as for that second team. Could have been a big jumble. But they got through with a win over a really good, scrappy UNLV team They got to win a solid win, which a really important win, like you said, sets them up for if they can just basically win out, they control their own destiny, and it sets them up a really clear path to get into the Mountain West Championship game. So I think both teams really accomplished something in this game.
Yeah, and so let's talk about the other game we were really focused on, the Cowboys versus the Broncos. And what a disappointment from Wyoming. You know, I'm not going to focus on this game a lot other than just to say, I mean, I listened to Coach Bowles' press conference. He just said, you know, everything was poor.
Yep.
Passing offense, running offense, blocking, tackling, everything about the game, kicking, special teams, everything was poor. And he's exactly right. I mean, I said early on, Peasley's going to have to come out like he did in his last 2 games and control the play. And you could tell in the first quarter he was just off.
Yeah.
He wasn't hitting his guys. And he was off. Whaley ended the game 10 rushes for 18 yards. I said he's gonna break one. Wasn't even close to breaking one. Peasley was 10 of 20 for 85 yards, reminiscent of the App State game where they pulled a win out of their butts at the very, very end thanks to the defense and special teams. That wasn't going to be the case. And let me tell you something here, because you mentioned physicality in the preview video and about how physical Wyoming was. Boise came out and punched Wyoming in the nose again and again and again, and it started with Genty. This kid is running over people. He's running over Wyoming Cowboy defenders who are known, I agree with you, for their physicality. Yeah. And that, I'm telling you, this Genty is amazing. He's starting to get national recognition, rightly so. He is so impressive to watch. They had Holani back as well, so now they have a 2-headed beast. They had a beautiful, nice touchdown to McAllister.
Yep.
He's a true number 1 receiver. Yep. Green actually looked really good, like a starting quarterback. They're still using 2, but I'll tell you what, watch out for the Broncos. They are 1 loss in the conference right now. You look at their total record and you go, oh, it's a down season for them, but they only have 1 loss, just like Fresno only has 1 loss. Boise, do not count Boise State out yet. That was a hell of a game versus the Wyoming Cowboys. They both coming off byes. One came to crush it. One came and didn't show up. Yeah. So props to the Broncos there. I was going to wear a Broncos shirt, but then I said, no, I locked the Falcons. I got to wear my Falcons shirt. Yes. So anyway, I don't know if you have anything on that.
Yes, definitely. So right when I got home from the Penn State game, I turned on the TV. I think it was over on CBS Sports Network. This game, it was the second half, was just getting ready to start. And so I missed the entire first half. But the second half, Wyoming, it seemed like they missed the second half. Because it was like they weren't even playing. Their defense was playing soft as a pillow. Their offense was just non-existent. They couldn't do anything, couldn't get out of their own way. Boise just looked amazing. Now in the game was in Boise, right? My eyes weren't playing tricks on me.
That was the blue turf for sure.
And I said to you, we were talking about the line ahead of this game. There is something different about Boise on that blue turf
for sure.
Now they looked absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. They looked like world beaters. They looked like the team that should be fighting to get into a New Year's Six game. They looked absolutely amazing. I didn't know what to make of Wyoming. Looked completely different than the Wyoming I saw against Fresno, and even the Wyoming I saw against Air Force in that tight loss. This looked like a completely different team. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if it was a mental thing, and they were just like, well, we're not. I don't know. I can't explain it. Other than they just were awful, and I feel terrible saying that because they've had such a great season, but they've just laid an egg in this game. Boise looked amazing. Boise, not only can they play spoiler this season, like you said, they have a path to get into that championship game, win the Mountain West, and go to a good bowl. So they got everything to play for.
Absolutely. They could have, the stinker of the beginning of, I know the UCF game always comes back. Everybody thought they should have won that game. Well, not should have. They clearly shouldn't have won, but that was a game they could have won.
Yes.
Certainly if they played that game the way they played this game, they would have rolled over UCF.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, props to the Broncos there, up and away for them. The last one I had was New Mexico and Nevada. 2 straight wins for Nevada. Look out, Wolfpack. They were 0-6 in our mid-season preview, and I said, I'm still going to stick with them. I think they're still going to get to 3 wins, and they rattle off 2 straight here. So they're figuring out their offense. They're scoring serious points. Ended up 34-24. Nevada was up 24-0 at the half. Props to the Wolfpack. That's all I got to say.
I feel.
May I say something?
Yeah.
We say Nevada, and we were corrected. Nevada. I got to say it correctly. Nevada.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay, anyway, what do you got?
All right. So, I feel really good for Nevada, the Wolfpack. I feel really good for them. Happy for them. There was one of their prominent beat writers earlier this year talked about the real possibility of just folding the program, that they were never going to be good. They had their one chance, and maybe they should. This was their beat writer who gets paid to write about this team. Was basically wrote a whole article saying maybe they should just fold the program. So, which I thought was totally ridiculous at the time, and I think that they've shown this year, they have a lot of positive things. An up-and-coming team. Are they good right now? No, they're probably not good, but they're not terrible either. They're just a middle-of-the-pack team, or maybe at the top end of the bottom half of the conference, but a lot of positive things. You said, what was it, 2 or 3 wins in a row?
2 in a row.
Offense is showing life. A lot of good hope for the future, I think. So I'm happy for Nevada.
Totally agree with you. So, hey, let's go over our summaries like we do every week. We've got our Week 9 summaries to show you how we ended up. And then, of course, our cumulative summaries where we're at for the whole season. All right, that's where we're at, and we do have some early line picks for you here. I know I have one. I think Steve has one, so I'll let you start, Steve. What you got?
So I'm going to go with this. We talked about Nebraska earlier, how they covered this week, how they seem to kind of be on track. The team is getting Matt Rule's, his system, his way, his philosophy. So they're visiting Michigan State. The line is 3.5, and so normally you would say, okay, you take this one as an early line if it was like 2.5, thinking go to 3. I even like it at 3.5 as an early line pick for Nebraska to cover 3.5. I could see this moving to like 5.5, probably still stay under that touchdown. But I'm going to go ahead and make an early line pick at Nebraska minus 3.5 at Michigan State.
All right, I like that. And I'm going to do one as well. I teased that they're going to hear the Troy Trojans come out of my mouth again, and here they come. So the Troy Trojans play South Alabama. I will say South Alabama has a really good offense. I think they're the highest scoring or one of the highest scoring offenses in the Sun Belt. But as I said, Texas State has a good offense, and they held them to 13 points. So I'm going back to the Trojans here. They seem to have everything going. It is home. This is a Thursday evening game, which is one of the main reasons I'm making this an early line, because it is an earlier game here in the Sun Belt. So I'm taking Troy at minus 6.5. I like it under a touchdown. It may move up or down possibly, but I like them to win this game by a touchdown. So the Trojans at minus 6.5. And with that, hey, we thank you for tuning in. We're going to have our picks coming out for Week 10 on Thursday morning. So be ready for that, and we'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.